I was 31 years old, standing in my kitchen at 6 in the morning, eating cold, leftover lasagna straight out of the container because I hadn't slept enough to care about using a plate. That's when my phone buzzed with an email from my mother. The subject line read, "Sad news about the anniversary trip. You should know something about my mom. She doesn't text like a normal person. Every message from her reads like a formal letter complete with a greeting and a closing. This one was no different. Marlo, I'm heartbroken to tell you this, but your father and I have to cancel the anniversary trip we promised you. The business with Dad's shop has been rough this year, and on top of that, the roof on the house needs to be replaced. It's just not the right time. We'll make it up to you when things settle down. Love, Mom." I read it 3 times. Then I set my phone down and stared at the wall for a solid minute. My name is Marlo Ashcombe, and 6 months earlier, my parents had promised me a trip to Santorini to celebrate 2 things at once: finishing my MBA and getting promoted to regional operations manager at the logistics company I'd worked at for 7 years. I'd spent 2 years grinding through night classes after full work days, missing birthdays, missing sleep, missing basically everything except deadlines. My parents said they wanted to do something big. Santorini had been my mother's dream destination since she was a teenager, cutting pictures of the white houses and blue domes out of travel magazines. It was going to be our trip, she said. A mother-daughter thing with Dad and my 2 siblings tagging along too, since we hadn't all traveled together in almost a decade. So when the cancellation came, it stung, but I told myself it was fine. Roofs are expensive. My father's hardware store had been struggling since a big chain opened up 2 towns over. I understood budgets. I'd spent my 20s learning to live on ramen and library Wi-Fi so I wouldn't have to ask anyone for help. I wrote back something supportive. Told her not to worry about it, that we could do a nice dinner locally instead. That family being safe and financially stable mattered more than any vacation. She replied with a single heart emoji and, "You're such a good daughter, Marlo." Life moved on. Work got busier. My fiancé Julian and I were in the middle of house hunting. My younger brother Colton was going through some drama with his roommate. Everything felt ordinary, peaceful even. Then 9 days after that email, on a lazy Sunday night, I was scrolling through Facebook, half paying attention to a true crime show, and my Aunt Denise's post stopped my thumb cold. The Ashcombe family Santorini adventure, and there right in the cover photo were my parents, my brother Colton, my sister Priya, her husband Marcus, and their 2 kids, all standing in front of a whitewashed church with the famous blue dome. Behind them, everyone was wearing matching sun hats. I actually laughed out loud, thinking it had to be an old photo somebody mislabeled. Then I saw the date stamp, 6 days ago. Location tag, Santorini, Greece. My stomach dropped somewhere near the floor. I clicked into the album, 94 photos. I went through every single one like I was looking for a mistake, some detail that would make this make sense. Photo 4, the whole family at the airport grinning, coffee cups raised like a toast. Photo 19, my mother on a cliffside terrace, wine glass in hand, caption, "Living the dream I never thought I'd get to live." Photo 31, my niece and nephew eating ice cream with the caldera behind them. Photo 50, my father and brother-in-law doing a mock wrestling pose on a beach made of black volcanic sand. Photo 68, the entire family dressed up at what was clearly a high-end restaurant, sunset behind them, wine glasses raised again. Photo 94, everyone back at the airport, exhausted, sunburned, glowing. My mother's caption under the last photo, "Best trip of our lives. So blessed to have my whole family together." Whole family. 6 people, not 7. I sat on my couch for what felt like 20 minutes, phone growing hot in my palm, scrolling back through those photos over and over, searching for some detail that would explain it. Maybe they'd won a giveaway. Maybe a friend paid for it. Maybe the dates were wrong. But no, my niece was wearing sandals I'd seen her beg for on Instagram 2 weeks earlier. My brother had a haircut he'd gotten 10 days ago. There was no explaining it away. They had planned an entire international vacation for 6 people, while telling me, the 7th person who was supposed to be on that trip, that they were too broke to travel anywhere. I checked the comments. 40, maybe 50 of them. "Your family is so beautiful, Karen, Denise. Tell your sister I'm so jealous. This looks like a dream. So happy for you all." Not one person asked where I was. Not one. It was like I'd never existed in the plan at all. Julian found me on the couch around 9 that night, phone still in my hand, the album still open. I turned the screen toward him without saying a word. I watched his face go from confused to furious faster than mine had. "They told you they couldn't afford a weekend trip," he said, voice tight, "and they're at a 5-star resort in Greece." I appreciated his anger, genuinely, but what I felt wasn't rage, not yet. It was something colder, analytical. I kept thinking, why lie? If they didn't want me there, why not just say so? Why build an entire fake story about roofs and hardware stores? Julian wanted me to call them immediately and demand answers. Something in me resisted. I wanted to see how long they'd keep pretending nothing had happened. Monday, I went to work like normal. Led my team meeting approved. A shipping contract answered 40 emails. My phone sat face down on my desk. Nothing from my family. Tuesday, I had lunch with my best friend Odessa and didn't mention a word of it. She asked how my parents were doing. Fine, I said, and the lie tasted like pennies in my mouth. Wednesday, Colton posted his own photos on Instagram with a Greek flag emoji tagging our parents and Priya. Not me, obviously. Thursday, Priya posted a reel set to some breezy acoustic song clips of the family laughing at dinner, the kids chasing pigeons in a plaza, my mother tearing up in front of a sunset. Still, nothing. No calls. No, we need to tell you something. Just silence and highlight reels. That's when the anger really started to build. I did the math on what a trip like that would actually cost. 6 people, 6 days, international flights from the Midwest, a resort with caldera views, multiple nice dinners. I landed somewhere between $19,000 and $26,000 conservatively. The receipts practically walked up and introduced themselves once I started looking closer. Photo 40 showed a sliver of their hotel room, a private plunge pool, a terrace overlooking the water. I found similar rooms online running €400 a night and up. Photo 71 had a restaurant receipt just visible on the table, €380 for one dinner. My brother was wearing a new pair of sunglasses I recognized from a designer display case. My sister had a handbag she'd once called her someday purchase. Someday apparently had arrived in the Aegean Sea. This wasn't a last-minute splurge. This took months of planning, time off, work, passports, packing pet sitters, the kids missing school. I went back through my texts with Priya. 3 months earlier, she'd asked what dates I had free in October for the parents' anniversary thing. I told her I was keeping the last week open. She'd sent back a thumbs up. She already knew at that point that she'd be in Greece. She was just making sure their trip didn't accidentally overlap with dates I might expect to travel. That casual practice manipulation made me wonder how many other times I'd been quietly managed without ever noticing. Friday afternoon, my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Hi honey, hope work is good. Quick favor, could you come by this weekend and help your father set up his new phone? You know how hopeless he is with technology. Love you. I read it 4 times. After lying to me for over a week after a $20,000 vacation while claiming they couldn't afford roof repairs, she wanted me to come fix a phone. The audacity was almost impressive. I screenshotted it and sent it to Julian. His response, "You cannot be serious." Instead of replying to her, I opened my laptop and started building a folder. Screenshots from every platform, captions, location, tags, comments, timestamps organized in order. I pulled up my mother's original cancellation email and saved it too. Then I went through my own messages and found every text where I'd been understanding, supportive, gracious about their financial struggles. I built a timeline plain and factual, no emotion in the wording. April 2nd, parents promise Santorini anniversary trip. September 26th, mother emails to cancel, citing financial hardship. September 26th, I respond with support and understanding. October 5th, 11th, entire family minus me travels to Santorini, Greece. Estimated cost $19,000, $26,000. October 11th onward, family posts 90+ photos across social media. October 12th, 18th, no family member contacts me or mentions the trip. October 18th, mother requests help with a technical favor. 4 pages, screenshots included. I saved the file as family, record, October, PDF, and made myself dinner. Plain pasta, nothing fancy, and ate it slowly while scrolling through the photos one more time. There was one image I couldn't stop looking at. Photo 78. The whole family at golden hour, wine glasses, raised faces lit up with laughter. My mother's head tipped back mid-laugh at something my father said. My niece and nephew making silly faces at the camera. They looked complete, like a finished picture with no missing piece. Growing up, I'd always been the reliable one. Priya was the dramatic one, always in some crisis that needed managing. Colton was the impulsive one, always needing to be bailed out. Me, I got good grades, paid my own way through college, working 2 jobs, never asked for anything. I used to tell myself that my independence was a strength. Now I wondered if they'd just taken it as permission to forget I existed. Saturday morning brought another text, just following up on the phone thing, maybe come by for lunch. Then my phone rang, Priya's name on the screen. I almost let it go to voicemail, but curiosity won. Hey stranger, her voice was bright and easy like nothing had happened. So listen, I have a favor to ask. Marcus and I are trying to refinance the house and our credit's good, but the bank wants extra security. Would you be willing to co-sign for us? It's really just a formality. I couldn't speak for a second. The nerve of it took my breath away. Priya co-signing is a serious financial commitment, I said carefully. Oh, I know, but we're totally good for it. It literally wouldn't affect you at all. We just need somebody's name on there. A pause. Okay, you sound weird. I'm fine. I'll think about it. Okay, well, let me know soon. Ish, rates are changing. Love you, click. 40 seconds. That's how long it took my sister, fresh off a vacation I'd been deliberately excluded from, to ask me to risk my financial future for her, without a single mention of Santorini. Colton texted that same afternoon. Hey, can you spot me like $400 for rent? Landlord's being a pain. I'll pay you back next month for sure. 3 favors in 2 days. They needed my tech skills, my credit, and my money, just not my company on a beach. I added it all to the document. Sunday night I finally answered my mother. I'd spent the whole weekend drafting and redrafting, deleting entire paragraphs, starting over. Julian offered a dozen versions, ranging from tell them all where to go to carefully diplomatic. I wanted something specific, something that laid out exactly what I understood, with no room for excuses or guilt trips. I attached the PDF and wrote, Hi Mom, I saw Aunt Denise's Facebook album from Santorini, all 94 photos. I also saw Colton's posts, Priya's reels, and the comments from relatives about how beautiful our family looks. I noticed the trip happened during the exact week we were supposed to be celebrating together, 4 days after you emailed me, saying travel wasn't financially possible right now. I've put together a timeline with everything attached, including your text about the phone, Priya's request to co-sign her refinance, and Colton's request for rent money. I'm not angry. I'm not even hurt, really. Those feelings require an expectation of being valued, and I clearly had that expectation misplaced. What I am is finished. Finished pretending we're the kind of family that shows up for each other. Finished being convenient when you need something and forgettable when it comes to being included. So no, I won't be coming to help with the phone. Priya, I won't co-sign anything. Colton, I can't send rent money. I'm stepping back from this dynamic. I hope Santorini was everything you wanted it to be, Mom. I read it 12 times before hitting send. My hand actually shook. I knew once I sent it there was no walking it back. The message showed as delivered. 30 seconds later, read. My phone started ringing within 2 minutes. Mom. I declined. It rang again. Declined. A text. Please answer. Let me explain. Then my dad called. Declined. Then Priya. Declined. Colton sent a message that opened with, Wow, way to blow this out of proportion. I turned my phone off entirely. Julian ordered Thai food and we ate on the couch watching something forgettable on TV. He didn't ask if I was okay because he could see I wasn't, and I appreciated that he didn't make me put words to the tangle of relief, grief, and vindication churning in my chest. I turned my phone back on Monday morning before work. 51 missed calls. 70-something texts. I deleted them without reading most of them, and blocked my parents, Priya and Colton, on my phone. I left them unblocked on social media just so I could see if they'd post anything about it publicly, but I unfollowed everyone so nothing would show up in my feed. My friend Odessa took me to coffee that Tuesday, and I finally told her everything. The photos, the emails, the timeline. She was appropriately horrified. They're probably panicking, she said, because they're realizing you're actually serious for once. Maybe, I said. But I'm not holding my breath for an apology that isn't just an excuse. Weeks passed. Through a cousin, I heard there'd been a huge family blow-up over the whole thing. Priya blamed my mother for handling it badly. Colton thought I was being dramatic. My father predictably said almost nothing. Conflict avoidance had always been his specialty. Nobody, from what I could tell, actually admitted that leaving me out and lying about it was wrong. The argument was entirely about my reaction, not their behavior. A letter came in the mail a month later, 4 pages in my mother's handwriting. Mostly justifications. Space was limited. The timing worked better for everyone else. They figured I was too busy with work to want to come anyway. Nowhere in those 4 pages did she write the words, I'm sorry. I filed it with the rest of the documentation and didn't respond. Julian and I moved into a new apartment together that fall, a bright 2-bedroom near the river. We adopted a scruffy orange tabby from the shelter who immediately claimed the windowsill as his personal throne. I got another promotion at work, stepping into a director-level role. Life felt lighter without the constant background hum of managing everyone else's expectations of me. About 7 months after Santorini, I got a Facebook friend request from my nephew Priya's older son Desmond. He was 14 now, old enough to have his own social media and his own opinions. I accepted, and a few days later he messaged me. Hey, Aunt Marlo. Mom told me what happened. I just wanted to say I'm sorry you weren't there. I actually asked about you when we were planning the trip, and Mom said you were too busy with work and didn't want to come. I didn't know she lied about the whole thing being canceled. That's really messed up. I miss you. I read that message about 10 times. Desmond had always been a thoughtful kid, and it meant something that he'd seen through the story the adults had constructed. I wrote back and told him it meant a lot, that none of this was his fault. and that I'd love to grab lunch with him sometime, just the two of us. We started meeting up every few weeks after that. Through him, I learned things. Priya and Marcus were having marriage trouble, Colton had lost another job, and the trip had apparently drained most of my parents' savings on top of everything else. I felt strangely little hearing any of it, no satisfaction in their struggles, just a quiet distance, like hearing news about people I used to know. About a year after that Sunday night on the couch, my mother sent another letter, shorter than the first, less defensive. She said she'd started therapy. She said she was learning that she'd spent years prioritizing everyone's short-term comfort over honesty, even when honesty would have been kinder. She said she couldn't undo what happened, but that she regretted it. She said she missed me. Still no direct apology for the lying itself, but it was closer than anything before it. I sat with that letter for weeks before responding. Eventually I sent a short email. "Mom, I got your letter. I'm glad you're working on yourself. I'm not ready for regular contact, but I'd be open to coffee sometime, just the two of us." We met 2 months later at a quiet cafe. She looked older than I remembered. She told me, using the actual words this time, that she was sorry. She said she'd let Priya convince her that I was too independent to really mind being left out, and that lying had felt easier than having a hard conversation. She said she understood if I never fully trusted her the same way again. I listened. Some of it felt real. Some of it sounded rehearsed words she'd learned in therapy but hadn't fully absorbed yet. "I don't know if we can fix this," I told her honestly. "I'm not saying never. I'm also not saying yes right now." She nodded, eyes wet. "I understand." We finished our coffee talking about ordinary things, her garden, my job. It wasn't warm, but it wasn't hostile either. Just two people who used to be close figuring out an unfamiliar distance. Julian proposed a year after that on an ordinary Thursday evening, no elaborate plan, just the two of us and the cat between us on the couch. We got married the following spring in a small ceremony with about 40 guests, friends, co-workers, people who had shown up for me consistently year after year without needing anything in return. Desmond sat in the front row, 16, now beaming like he was proud of me. My parents weren't invited. Neither were Priya or Colton. An aunt called to tell me I was being unnecessarily harsh, that family was family, and I should learn to let things go. I thanked her for her opinion, and went back to arranging centerpieces. Because here's what I learned. Through all of it, forgiveness and restoration are not the same thing. I could release the anger without reopening the door. I could wish my family well from a distance without letting them back into my daily life. I could build something new without dismantling the boundaries that kept me safe. On my wedding day, surrounded by people who genuinely wanted to be there, I felt no lingering sadness about who was missing. Just gratitude for the life I'd built, and the people who'd helped me build it. Julian and I honeymooned in Portugal, a trip we planned and paid for together, just the two of us. We took plenty of photos and posted maybe 6 of them, because the memories were ours, not content for anyone's approval. Sometimes I still think about those 94 photos from Santorini, the matching sun hats, the golden hour toasts, the complete absence of anyone noticing that a 7th person was missing from every single frame. But mostly now I think about the life I actually have. Full of people who wouldn't dream of excluding me, and then calling the next week to ask for a favor. People who tell the truth. People who treat my presence as something worth having. Not something optional. That's not a consolation prize. That's not the version of family I settled for after losing the real one. That's the real one. And it turns out you don't need 94 photos to prove it. Have you ever had to draw a hard line with family, or build a new one from people who actually chose you back? I'd love to hear your story in the comments.